This is going to be your guide to using Greninja in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. Oh boy, we have another dual type with Dark starter Pokemon that has the Protean ability, which was nerfed in Generation 9. Except this time it's a special attacker. Other than that, like, the stats are crazy similar. So we have 110 attack versus 103 special attack, 122 speed versus 123 speed. And the Meowscarada power creep is something I've talked about a bit, and it's just kind of wild where you look at that. But now that we're talking about Greninja, we can see how this breaks down and interacts. So the Protean ability, just a straight nerf on Greninja, since it used to be, well, I was every stab type, and now it's I'm losing a stab type permanently. So you go from water dark to either ice or grass or only dark. So really you get no benefit to this ability now that terrestrialization exists, except I guess it's a terrestrial that doesn't use your once per battle terrestrialization. But on the Pokemon that have like Protean and Libero, it doesn't really do that, because no one's running like Ice Terra and then doing like some crazy coverage pop-offs. So congratulations, you now have an Ice Greninja to get that extra 50% out of your Ice Beam. So it's a stab 103 in this now like power crept bulky meta. So it's kind of crazy, like thinking about terrestrialization as a gimmick in regards to Protean as an ability over the last couple of years and generations, and also seeing how like Generation 8 extra broke and busted Protean. Generation 9 makes it useless. Even without the nerf, it's still like not as special or not as crazy. And the Pokemon that get access to it have effectively been power crept out to where we need like power creep on top of that for a starter Pokemon. And even then, Meowscarada isn't that good, so Torrent, I guess, on the Greninja, and you just try to double down on damage and everything that you outspeed. So let's sort by speed and see what 122 gets us. So we lose to Meowscarada, which is bad because grass into water, I guess like Protean shenanigans, whatever. We outspeed Cyclizar, Dugtrio, and then it gets a bit more relevant because we have Cinderace, Roaring Moon, Iron Valiant. That's kind of it. After that's a lot of Pokemon that Greninja has already been dealing with for generations, or power crept versions of them that still don't really find too much relevance. And Greninja does not like bulky metagames. Greninja likes being the king, where like, oh, it would just get stab and then have a super effective hit that one-shot something, and it outspeeds everything because 122 back in Generation 6 or Generation 7 was supposed to kind of be the pinnacle. Now there's just like bulky Pokemon that don't care about this super effective hit. They care less because Protean got nerfed, so that's kind of thing. Terrestrialization, very situational. Do you not have that Terra type and Terra Blast to super the Pokemon anyways? Well, Greninja is just the freest Pokemon to destroy and set up against.
And by the way, Greninja was never that great of a Pokemon in any generation, even before the Protean nerf.
So, yeah, it's kind of rough for the Greninja now, especially. And how does that, like, work into the matchup? So we outspeed Roaring Moon. Let's say it's like a jolly Roaring Moon, pure offense, no setup shenanigans, Ice Beam, super effective hit with Protean. So even giving it that extra 50% just doesn't do anything. Now, this could be like potential Focus Sash, but you need Focus Sash to deal with faster Pokemon and other setups and stuff. What about Life Orb? Alright, so your Life Orb Greninja, that's more frail than paper, that will just dissolve under any offensive pressure, can one-shot Roaring Moon with Protean and a super effective hit on the Ice Beam. If you're missing any of those components to be set up against anything else in the game, you're gonna have a bad time. Or if it's some kind of like weird bulk Roaring Moon, the numbers start to drop off. And then if the Roaring Moon goes for its shenanigans where it booster energies into the acrobatics on a Terra Flying, you just get KO'd because that's the damage. So a lot of Pokemon just bring better gimmicks or work better with terrestrialization to where if it goes Terra, it's not as much of a waste of a Pokemon, and then it gets like the coverage and the damage to make up for anything, so it just plays nicer than Greninja. Also, Greninja's damage, when you kind of go into some other angles, just looks really pathetic. Like, we go Terra Blast, Terra Steel onto a Flutter Mane, and it's not a KO. The 135 special defense is just that fat. And because Flutter Mane is always going to outspeed you, you need the Focus Sash so you can't have the Life Orb. And once again, with the Life Orb, the damage still looks kind of sketchy. And then this really gets into a lot of damage philosophy that I've been talking about since Generation 7 and even Generation 6. That the old school idea of Pokemon was, this is sweeping Pokemon, slap Life Orb, slap Choice Item on it, you win. Except there's a lot of cases where a Life Orb doesn't change a 2-hit KO into a 1-hit KO. So you're just a 2-hit KO no matter what you do. And Greninja really catches that on something like a 103 offense. That even with like boosting or old Protean and stuff like that, you're not really converting KOs in a lot of situations. And even a Pokemon like Greninja that lives and dies by needing super effective hit transitions, it's not. It can get into some weird damage situations where the numbers don't really line up. Let's look at something like the Cinderace. So Cinderace, you're going to be outspeeding it, and it's a Pokemon with a more reasonable 80 hit points, 75 special defense. You can also change some of this around. We have Dark Pulse Surf as our main stab. We're not going to be Terra, we're just like a Water Dark Pokemon. So yeah, the Life Orb, super effective Surf, that KOs the Cinderace. Anything neutral, it's not. And that's kind of like what you have to be weary about, where it's like 90-80 base power move, even with the Life Orb, isn't going to KO like super frail Pokemon that you're outspeeding. So Greninja really living and dying by those super hits, and then the interactions with Terra and all these other things doesn't really change it too much. Even if we like have Terra Dark. So we're mixing up our typing, our coverage, and all that fun stuff. Terra, wait, that's the wrong one. Terra Dark on this one is going to look like still no KOs on neutral hits. So yeah, the 103 Life Orb doubling down into a frail Pokemon, not it. And that's why for Greninja, we have to bust out All Reliable. And I'm not talking about Baton Pass, I'm talking about 1-for-1 plus. That if you get a little bit of advantage while trading an opponent's Pokemon, you're technically in a winning state, especially if the Pokemon you traded with is something that is crucial to the opponent's win condition. Greninja can find some of that cheese. Again, the good coverage like opens it up. That if you Ice Beam the Roaring Moon, and then they go for all their shenanigans, but they don't get the KO on you because of Focus Sash, you Ice Beam them again, everything's kind of in your favor, because now you have the boosted Torrent, so it's making up for some lack of damage. Opposing Pokemon comes in, you hit them super. Without the Life Orb, that's not a KO because damage weirdness on these low stats and generally bulky Pokemon. But like, a Torrent Surf neutral is going to hurt something. Okay, I'm actually surprised by these results. So a 74-60, a very stupidly frail Pokemon like the Iron Valiant, actually has a chance of getting KO'd by that. There we go. There's just some power there on the follow-up. And if we have a Water-type Terra, that's actually pretty threatening in a good speed tier into a good cast of Pokemon now. I'm just like trying to think about how we throw things out here. What does Gengar? What does Gengar look like? It's been a while since we've used Gengar. No one uses Gengar. Oh, it's still 60-75, so the damage numbers on the Surf are going to look pretty similar. Golden Go, there we go. That's our new boy. What does a Golden Go look like into all of that Terra damage? That's more like it. So an 87 91 naturally crept bulk, even with that Water Terra, not converting 1-hit KO. So it kind of like shows, hey, do I want to Terrastallize my Greninja when it's all set up after this? You know, it gets a KO, it goes Terra Water, gets another KO. Not necessarily, but also, you're not bound into anything. You're not choiced into anything. So we can even look at a Dark Pulse. However, that's probably, yeah, that's what I mean. Like, wow, without Life Orb, we have a super effective stab Dark Pulse onto the Golden Go. Not a KO. And the Terra Water with Torrent effectively turns it into a super effective hit. So we knew this was going to be the outcome, but I just kind of like wanted to show it just in case I was missing something. So yeah, that's kind of what happens. But it's still like a significant hit. That you're a 1.9 for one Pokemon in some of these situations. And that's good. And what does it cost? A Focus Sash, an item. And I guess you can get, like, Revenged and Priority, which does make it go pretty south pretty quick. The weird thing is comparing Greninja to the other starter Pokemon I've been talking about that can 1-for-1 plus, like Charizard. Well, Charizard has the chance of setting a Sunny Day on top of it. Cinderace, as I talked about in my last moveset guide, can also go for something like the Flame Charge. So, like, Cinderace does all this, but as it's sacking its Sash, it's going +1, so that's actually faster than the Greninja, has more damage possibility on, like, just the higher attack into the same Blaze strat, and then follows it up with higher base power moves on the Pyro Ball, and then actually has more one-hit KO threat after that, while packing more speed and stuff like that. Greninja gets different special coverage, and you keep Water Dark, and that's it. As for Physical Greninja has always been trash. Like I said, even pre-nerf Protean Greninja wasn't really that good. Like, it's a 95 attack Pokemon. If you start splitting that for other weird mix shenanigans, like, it's not going to do anything for you. And, like, okay, a 120 base power Gunk Shot, but just have a better Pokemon or some other, like, weird moves and stuff. As for some other ideas, we have the Water Shuriken. Like, Priority is good, and it can also be good into fast Pokemon. Like, let's say they have an Iron Bundle or a Fluttermane or even a Jolteon. By using this, getting that Priority in and hitting them, you at least get the intel that they don't have a Focus Sash. That gives you a lot of comfort into the play, and then you might mitigate a misplay, or if they did have Focus Sash, you can turn that into a not losing situation, because Greninja still got the 1-for-1 plus. Even if it's a small plus, it can matter because of the priority. Counter is also another option that you can take on the Greninja, because you have this, you're Focus Sashed, so you just do the damage back against physical hits, and then you still play for your 1-for-1. It doesn't really seem like it has, like, it's a cute thing, it's really fun, but I feel like there's just a lot of Pokemon where you go Surf, take a hit, Focus Sash, Torrent, Surf again, they're just KO'd, or like other combos with better coverage and stuff. So I don't think there's going to be too many situations where you can't 2-hit KO. That would mean you need the counter. Just kind of an idea. Chilling Water doesn't matter, Scald nerf on the Greninja. But even, like, as we got later into the generations of metagames where Greninja was played, people started shifting to Surf just to get all of that extra little bit of damage, because the damage numbers and philosophy is so weird. And that's kind of it. Like, you need the KOs. I don't know about, like, a supportive, weird, counter Icy Wind Greninja or anything like that. Thiefing to steal an item after the Focus Sash. Like, I don't think the game has gotten that ugly to where you do, like, a weirdo Greninja like that. And then the rest of Greninja has been pretty well known for the last couple of generations. It's just, like, how it... Like, really, this guide is just talking about how Greninja holds up in the face of power creep with a lot of similar Pokemon, but also just new, better Pokemon being introduced, and what you can get away with, but it's very one-dimensional. That's kind of like the unfortunate thing about what's happened with modern generation Pokemon, is that instead of getting more diverse strategies with, like, the bits and pieces and, like, anti-metaing with other Pokemon, a lot of the new Pokemon just coming in are very specialized and very strong at one thing, and that's just really unhealthy for the game. I guess, like, Haze, actually, if you have, like, Sash Haze, that could just save a game. So if we're just kind of playing around the torrent, you do that, and this is why you watch all of my videos to the end instead of clicking around and then ignoring, like, the actual good details. The damage calculations are the most important part of the videos, but people just seem to just, like, go, yep, I just need to know moveset and move on. Whereas, like, no, the moveset's the easy part. What you need is the commentary on how to get the most out of the moveset, the other interactions, the damage calculations, and then, like, the couple of seconds where I'm like, you can also do this. Because now, like, this saves the game. Against a tank Pokemon that's, like, +6 defense, ready to body press you, that Haze is going to be pretty powerful in game saving. Or a Dragon Dancing Sweeper, if they didn't get any entry hazards, and entry hazards dying off because they've always been terrible and people are waking up to that. Yeah, like Focus Sash, you endure it, you get the Haze. Now their speed boost against you is gone, so you can maybe get some damage, do something back in return, soften them up for your next Pokemon, so, like, you can get a revenge situation. Greninja isn't a 1-for-1, but hey, you didn't get swept because stat changes go boom. There we go, guys. Hope you all enjoy the video. And yeah, stat changes and setups are pretty heavy this generation, so hope you guys enjoy the video. Hope you all have a nice day. Thank you very much for watching.